Well, that's just me in a nutshell.
I don't think I'd want to be in a nutshell. Seems cramped.
You know,
Depends on how big the nut is. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
like I could maybe do
Heyo.
pecan, maybe pecan shell. Sounds nice. Got a
Maybe
Big
little
old walnut shell.
walnut. Yup, yup, yup.
a little pecan.
Yup,
But
yup.
like, fuck a peanut shell. Like,
That
you
shit's
could get a
paper
big
thin,
peanut,
dude.
but it's paper thin. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to live in that. I
You
guess it'd be easy
sneeze
to
and
get
fucking
out,
just
which my original problem was that it would be claustrophobic. So I guess a peanut shell would be what I wanted.
you don't want
And
the
you have to have
walnut
like
shell,
that.
dude.
You
You're
have to have
fucking
like the hourglass body. It's like that's not even realistic.
Yeah,
nah,
dude, it's
dude.
setting unrealistic body standards.
It's
Hundred
Exactly,
percent, dude. Peanuts are fucked.
dude. Mr. Peanut, you
Cancel.
take care.
And welcome back.
Yo, yo.
We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience. Together we are on a mission of Dynasty domination.
Yes, we are.
I threw you for a loop there, Christian. I got you. One daydream at a time. I'm here with the Gurus. How you doing, boys?
Good.
Hell yeah,
Sunday.
man. If I was any better, I'd be wearing your sweater.
Oh,
Nice.
with the rhymes off the top. Well, we're back at it with the rookie madness bracket. We're on to our last round of 64. Let's kick it over. Get on the YouTube, guys. Check it out. Daniel did this awesome bracket. We're taking it all the way to the championship, boys and girls. And so we got the red brackets. I'm going to kick it over to y'all.
Yeah.
What you got?
So we got the red bracket this week, taken over and starting off with our 1 versus 16 matchup, just like we always are. So we got Bryce Young up against the bye week. Bye week's got a lot of chances to win this tournament, but I think unfortunately he loses here again, huh?
I think so.
Very
Yeah.
unlucky.
Makes sense. So moving on, after that, we got our 8 versus 9 matchup. You know, these are pretty interesting matchups typically. So we got wide receiver Rashee Rice versus running back Chris Rodriguez. Now, this one was an interesting one, but I ended up going Rashee Rice. What do you think?
Yeah, Rashee Rice, man. I'm with you on that. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, so like we always do, we'll get into the losers of each round just to highlight everybody in this tournament. And here we go. So Chris Rodriguez, running back out of Kentucky. He's 6 foot, 217 pounds, 23.4 years old. 900 yards last season, 6 touchdowns. He had a big 2021, 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns. He's got good size, you know me. I like that 217 pounds. 6 foot's a bit tall, but that's nothing to be worried about, really. Red flag didn't have anything in the receiving game last season. 41 yards total receiving is not great. 5 catches. You know, it's a pretty good average, I guess. 5 for 40, but that's not what you want to see. His thing is, everybody has something they're really good at. He's smart, man. He's a smart runner. He's got good vision. He makes one cut. He hit the hole. I don't know that he has necessarily the like athleticism to take advantage of his like positional intelligence, unfortunately. But man, he like reads these holes well. He can read his blockers really well. He squeezes in these little tight holes and like just makes his offensive line look good. Just doesn't have that speed or burst to kind of like put the icing on the top of that cake. I think he could make an incredibly efficient depth piece in an offense. Like somebody like Kyle Shanahan would make this guy look like an absolute superstar if he got him for a year. And then like he'd get a big payday, go to another team and be like an efficient, good runner that another team doesn't know how to take advantage of. He runs into contact. He's hard to bring down. And he's always trying to power out those last couple of yards. Again, like I said it on Wednesday's episode, we got a lot of these players who are good players, bad fantasy prospects, and Chris Rodriguez definitely, to me, falls into that category because I think he will be a depth piece on an offense somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, good players, bad for fantasy, lose in the first round. It's all makes sense to me. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Chris Rodriguez, he is a fun player to watch for sure, but you know, he's going to be 24 come the season, not
Yeah.
really catching a lot of passes, so not really putting it all together for us. So, for all these reasons, we're out, man. Shark
Yeah.
Tank in it.
Chasse away.
So we get to the next one. We got Luke Musgrave. So he's
Woo-hoo.
number 5, and he is a tight end out of Oregon State, and he is up against Michael Wilson, Stanford wideout. Wow. Now this one is kind of tough for me, just because I didn't expect to like Michael Wilson as much as I did. But I got to give this one to Musgraves. I'm buying in on the hype. I got to let it play out. So.
That's
Agree?
fair. Yeah, I mean it is close. With the tight end class being so strong, it makes Musgrave fall a little bit, and Michael Wilson kind of comes up with a more gray wide receiver class. But I'm still going Musgrave here. The upside to him is pretty exciting.
Yep, I'm with you, man. And you're right. This is a gray wide receiver class. Not as
Hmm.
gray as trying to figure out how old Michael Wilson is, but we'll just assume 5 seasons at Stanford will give him 22 and a half made
Yeah,
up age. I feel like it's pretty accurate, though. But
pretty close, probably.
the grayness of this wide receiver class really falls on the size disparity. We get a
Mm.
ton of little small guys, and that's not a problem for Michael Wilson, man. He's 6'1", 216, so that's not bad. Obviously, he could be a little faster. He's running a 4.58 40, so 37th percentile. But the burst, 75th, speed score, 65th percentile. It's all good. It's all good. I think he's kind of an interesting name to watch. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school, and then he gets to Stanford, and he starts to build up, a rapport, leads a team in receiving yards his sophomore year, but only hit 672 yards and 5 touchdowns, and that's his best season, 56 catches. So what happens? What happens? Well, he got injured, man. He missed pretty much 17 games out of the last 3 years due to injury. Most notably, there's a 2022 injury, a foot injury, that took him out after 4 games, and then into the next season where he only played 4 games the following year. So that's kind of not great. Especially considering he didn't play a full season last year because of a different injury at the end of it. So there's definitely some long-term durability issues, but he was still able to compete at the combine. And as AJ highlighted in our Senior Bowl preview, he was electric in the one-on-one drills at the Senior Bowl. The footwork, the speed. So he's up and playing. So the injuries, short term, who knows? Long term, obviously, you got to be a little scared about it. But he jumped off the screen. Man, his tape was a lot of fun to watch. I think he's got high level technique and energy, and his footwork at the line of scrimmage is well above average. And he carries it through his route running with the starts and stops, double moves, like spins even, and just general quickness. He just gives him the ability to twist up some corners and get that separation he needs. I thought that the route running was pretty solid, and he really shows the competitive nature on the field, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, I got to tell you, he also led all wide receivers with the bench press at the combine. So that strength really showed. He had 23 reps. That really showed on the field with his physical presence at the catch point and through contact as a runner, as well as a blocker, like really good blocker, which we know is a great thing in the NFL. That'll keep you on the field a little bit. Plus, he called that he was going to do over 22 reps on the bench press at an interview at the Senior Bowl. So this is that like competitive kind of real confident nature that you can see in his play style. So I was like, shit, I'm even more in on this guy now that he's calling his shot like that. So yeah, it's safe to say to me that he's healthy enough to play right now from just recent stuff. But yeah, you got to worry about the injuries. So we'll see what happens. I think someone will take a chance on him. He seems like a really smart, very active player on the field that has the headspace. So
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I like him a lot too. This whole matchup was really tough for all the reasons you said. He's a great player. It almost kind of fell to me to the fact that it's just like I see the upside as like Michael Wilson is a high end two for a wide receiver two in an offense, and Musgraves could be like a high end one in an offense, and that's kind of what made the decision. But Wilson is a good player, man. I think had he gone up against like another receiver or like a similar level running back, he probably would have made it farther into this tournament, to be honest. But he just kind of like bad matchup. It happens. But I'm with you. He's a hell of a player. Coming up, we got two guys who are hell of a players. Running back matchup, our 4 and 13 matchup. We got Chase Brown versus Deuce Vaughn. Both have really fun tape. Both put a lot of production. Who are we going with? I went with Chase Brown. What do we think?
yeah.
You
Makes
did
sense
this to me on purpose, huh?
I mean, it's actually closer than you'd think, but it's rough.
Yeah, it is close. And I mean, it just comes to that classic like size. It's it's sizest. It is what it is. But Deuce Vaughn,
sport.
running back out of K-State, he's 5'5", 179 pounds, 21.3 years old. Last season he had over 1,500 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 300 through the air. He's a good player, man. 48th percentile burst score, 2 seasons in a row with 1,600 or more all-purpose yards, and 12 total touchdowns in 2022, 22 total touchdowns in 2021, man. Like he's explosive. He's a playmaker. Obviously, his only problem is the size. He has home run speed for days. He's hyper elusive. He has complete control over his body in that tiny little package. He can just like bounce off guys. He'll like let guys take his legs out from under him and just kind of roll and then keep running. Like he's one of those guys that has complete control over what he's doing on the field, and that's why he's dominated. It just like that doesn't always. It's not going to translate all the way into the NFL because now everybody has complete control and they're twice the size as you. He could be an absolute weapon in the passing game, no doubt about it. He'd be a nightmare matchup against any like flat-footed or slow running linebackers. To me, like everything I've just described should get bells ringing in your head. Oh, Darren Sproles. I love Darren Sproles. Let's go after him again. Problem is today's linebackers aren't that slow anymore. They're a lot quicker. They're a lot better in pass coverage. So I'm not sure that this skill set that Vaughn has translates to like long-term viability anymore like it used to. Darren Sproles got away with it being a smaller, quicker guy and dominated fantasy leagues for years. But I just don't know that that's going to translate anymore. And then the other thing is Sproles had an inch and 10 pounds on Vaughn as well. So like not only is he kind of like behind the 8 ball where Sproles was anyway, I just don't know that role is hyper there in the NFL anymore. Now, I could be proven wrong, but again, it's just like Tank Dell from our Wednesdays episode. It's just like, I'd love to see it happen. I hope Deuce Vaughn explodes in the NFL. I'm not willing to risk a pick on him unless it's like a late one.
Yeah, I mean, unless he goes to the Cowboys. But so Deuce Vaughn, yeah, he was number 4 in yards from scrimmage in 2021 and number 1 in 2022. And this dude, like you're saying, man, he's a freaking pinball and a pinball machine, man. He's just bouncing all over. And I say that Cowboys comment because his father works for the Cowboys doing scouting. So,
okay,
you know what I mean? They're opening up room in that running back room for him. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and take a moment to do my sun salutations. So, namaste. And BRB. So refreshed, so rejuvenated. Okay, let's get to our next matchup. All righty, red. Here we go. Number 6 versus number 11. Cedric Tillman, wide receiver, Tennessee. You heard the name. Versus Jaren Hall, quarterback, BYU. So the 11 seed, Jaren Hall, is going to lose this matchup.
Yep.
Cedric Tillman, you may proceed.
Moving on up.
Yeah, man, not for long if I'm saying this right. But yeah, man,
Spoilers.
Jaren Hall is a BYU quarterback, and I don't know what to say about this guy. Let's just start with the basic facts about him. He is 25 years old. He is 6 foot tall, 207. Didn't do the drills at the combine, and I don't know. I looked at the stats and I was like, I don't know. He's not the smallest guy in this quarterback class, but he isn't up to the standard size for a quarterback, so size is still concerning with him. And like I said, I looked at the stats and I wasn't really too impressed. And so when I went to the film, I was actually pleasantly surprised to watch a little bit of him working it. So especially the ability to make accurate throws on the move, that really impressed me with him. Off balance, just zinging it, pretty awesome. Absolutely beautiful throws when he is planting his feet. Really impressed me. Hit tight windows, back shoulder passes, floated deep balls, hitting guys in stride. It was, I thought, very polished, and his mobility in the pocket seems pretty solid as well. He also is pretty feisty as a scrambler. He did have 350 rushing yards, only 3 rushing touchdowns, but the ball placement was what really blew me away. And then, the more I watched it, I'm like, all these balls are kind of delicate. They were a little delicate looking. They look nice, but they didn't really have like the zip on them that you would need to see a little bit of that mixed in to expect them to be ready to go at the next level. But yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, a little bit of a bummer that he went to school again. I feel like if he had come out last year, he might have had a chance to maybe, like if this year was last year, he might have had a chance to get one of those jobs where it was like an iffy landing spot. But quarterbacks kind of got locked up this offseason between guys who proved themselves without the draft capital last year and just all the moves that have been made. I don't really see a ton of opportunity for a guy like him to be a viable option at the next level. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe it's a team like the Raiders will take him to be a backup, and then Jimmy G's got like a 98% chance of missing time, so he might have an opportunity to play in that situation. But 3,100 yards, 31 touchdowns, 6 picks last year. Really fun to watch, but it was kind of missing something to me. But he's got skills. Maybe if he can be coached up, he might have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, he had a really, really good touchdown to interception ratio, which is interesting. Coming out of BYU, he had a good touchdown to interception ratio. I guess he should have been the second overall pick. But
meow.
Anyway, I'm with you. Like he made plays, but if you listen to Wednesday's episode, you heard me rattle off a bunch of names who were going to be the same age or younger than Stetson Bennett. Apply that same list to Jaren Hall, and Jaren Hall's a guy who's had 2 good seasons and not won any national championships. Right. So it's not the same. I think he loses here, but like, I'm with you. Like, he may end up being a backup. Like, he knows how to run an offense. Clearly, that many touchdowns to that many interceptions does show that you can at least read what's going on, do what the coach wants you to do, and get the ball to the open guy. So that's what coaches want. I wouldn't be that shocked if he goes undrafted, to be honest. But he played 2 good years in a row, probably earned a spot at least as an undrafted free agent in the NFL. So
yeah, is this year's Carson Strong or something? I don't know.
Maybe.
Oof.
Speaking of that, we're going to move on to our next matchup. We've got the 3 seed versus the 14 seed. We've got running back Israel Abanikanda going up against tight end Luke Schoonmaker. I think this one was pretty easily Abanikanda moving on here, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it makes sense. We're both pretty big Abanikanda fans. So let's get into Schoonmaker. Great name, first of all. Hope he makes it into the NFL. Just he's going to be the classic tight end. The Schoon,
Oh,
like that's it's going to happen. So props to you for the name. He's a tight end out of Michigan, 6'5", 251 pounds. So he's a bit undersized for a tight end, but not terribly undersized. 24.4 years old, little on the older end for a draft prospect again, but not like terribly, but definitely not a great number. 418 yards last season, 3 touchdowns, 4.63 on the 40, 74th percentile burst score, 88th percentile speed score. Unfortunately for Mr. Schoonmaker, I think he's going to get kind of lost in the shuffle of a really fun, really dominant tight end class. If he was in another class, his athletic profile would have made him pop. But a lot of guys in this tight end class either are very similar to him or even better than him and have had more production than him. Not a ton of production for him in college at all. Last year was a career high in basically every major statistical category, and it was 418 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it's like you didn't see it again. If you saw this and then he posted all the top scores at the combine, maybe he would get somewhere, but he didn't even do that. He's a big target, but not insanely big for a tight end. So there's another knock there. Good speed, not great speed. He's kind of this guy who feels like a jack of all traits, but a master of none in the tight end room, which is good to have on your team. He just I don't know that, again, you'll hear it a lot. It's the fantasy viability. We are a fantasy podcast. No issues with Schoonmaker. Like if the Packers drafted Schoonmaker, I'd be pretty excited about it. Wouldn't make me draft him in a rookie dynasty draft. You know what I mean? One really nice thing I will say about Schoonmaker before we move on, he does have one of the nicer traits for a tight end to have, something that Travis Kelce is insanely good at. He knows when to sit on routes and when to become available for the quarterback, when to turn around, see where the quarterback's at, and know how to find the hole so that the quarterback has that option to kind of dump it to in case everything goes wrong. He was very consistently doing that on film, or at least the film that I watched. And so I think he has that part nailed down. I just think, unfortunately, he's going up against a great running back, A, and then B, he's kind of like the 8th, 9th, 10th most interesting tight end option, which makes him not that interesting of an option.
Yeah, this guy got, I would say, poor luck on a draw. Michigan's not the place to make an impression as a pass catcher, period.
Yeah.
When he comes out and the highest grossing receiver is under 900 yards and he's, third on the team with 418 and no one's got more than 6 touchdowns. It's just so, the best is yet to come for this guy, but it still doesn't really put him in the competition with the rest of the guys. So that's basically what you're telling me, man. And I happen to agree with you wholeheartedly.
Woo.
So
we should start a podcast.
You should, man. Agree to agree. That's what we'll call it. So I'm going to move on to the next one, and you better agree with me on this because I got Roschon Johnson, number 7, beating Andrei Iosivas, the wide receiver out of Princeton. So y'all know who Roschon Johnson is at this point, I'd assume. But let's get into Iosivas in case you guys don't know about this guy. As mentioned, he's out of Princeton, and he is a wide receiver. He's 23.4 years old, repping the Ivy League. Got good size. He's 6'3", 205. Great metrics, really. He hit the 4.43 on the 40, which is 85th percentile. 88th percentile on the burst, 90th on the speed. And he had a pretty impressive 82.5% catch rate last year. So, nice. Nothing to be too unhappy about. That year was 943 yards and 7 touchdowns. 924 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And have you guys heard about this guy? You know, he came on the combine, kind of blew some stuff up. People got excited
Mm-hmm.
about him. They said, hey, he's big bodied, he's athletic. What could go wrong? I don't know. I'll tell you what could go right, though. He was really successful in the red zone. A lot of like corner fades, crossing routes. Did a great job of like securing the ball without separation in those goal line situations. And that's kind of his game, man. Like he tracks the ball really well, and he's really good at the catch point. That's how you get an 82.5% catch rate. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, a lot of fun moves. Like kind of a very active guy. He had great agility and elusiveness, and just was awesome with the ball in his hands. But it wasn't very polished. His game to me was like kind of, I would describe it as like schoolyard scrappy,
Okay.
very like freestyle, lacked kind of uniformity and crisp definitions on the routes. So he's kind of just doing whatever. And in the Ivy
Mm-hmm.
League, going against cornerbacks that were not hardly anybody, so it worked for him. But the thing that really has me confused is the raw traits, man. They're out of control. And the
Mm-hmm.
agility drills, he was number 2 behind Jackson Smith and Jigba. There's a big gap between 1 and 2, so don't go there. But he was second in all of those, and he is a very successful track and field athlete at Princeton. And he was a state champion in Hawaii for long jump and 100 meter, 200 meter, and relay champion in high school. So very athletic. But then when you watch the film, he's not getting separation on Ivy League cornerbacks. Like he's having to make these plays at the catch point. Sure, he has some wide open looks from like blown coverage, but he's not routinely beating coverage in the way that a guy with that kind of athletic ability should. So that's got me a little concerned. But I mean, it was kind of fun to watch. So I'll keep a little bit of an eye out on this guy and see where he ends up, because especially with the size in this class and the
Yeah.
athleticism, gotta give him a chance.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like he profiles comparable to like Denzel Mims, which like people were super excited about when he came out. Hasn't really worked so far. We'll see if he can kind of salvage something. But you're right. Like it's the 6'3" and the 205 in a class of guys that are way smaller. But he does keep like a similar speed. So, like he needs some polish, he needs some work, but if he lands in the right place with the like a good trajectory to start starting playing time, or like a good coach who I believe that could coach him up into separate, like creating his own separation, he could be interesting. But that's a lot of if he goes here, and
Yeah.
if this happens, and if this happens, and if this happens, and those aren't guys that I'm interested in before the third round. Like I want my guys in the first and second round to be fairly like, oh, I think this is going to happen because of where they're at, not like, oh, there's 1,000 what ifs with this guy, which is kind of where I'm not even going to attempt to say his name.
Yosivas.
Yavaz, Iosivas, where he kind of falls to me specifically. But who knows, if he goes in the second round, all bets are off.
That ain't happening. But yeah, I'm with you. We'll see, man. If he's a day 2 guy, I would be shocked, but I would definitely pull a 180 because it was cool shit on the film. Just wasn't a portrayal of his athletic traits on film, in my opinion.
Gotcha.
But yes, she was.
Well, we've got one more matchup, and it was the bye week's final attempt at moving on in the first round. And I got to be honest, I don't think it's going to work against Zay Flowers. I'm a big Zay Flowers fan.
By
So.
God.
Go.
By God.
Bye bye.
Bye week, you had 8 chances, my friend. I'm
That's
sorry.
right.
You couldn't get in.
You need to go back for your senior year by week.
Retool some stuff. It was a good pitch.
Maybe
Just
hit
work
the
on
transfer
it.
portal.
Oh my god. All
We
right,
kept that bit going. I appreciate that. That bit went through the whole round of 64. Consistency.
Timer.
it was good. So just a roundup of the winners. So on to the round of 32. We got Bryce Young versus Rashee Rice. And then we have Luke Musgraves versus Chase Brown, the orange-headed phenom. Then we have Cedric Tillman versus Israel Abanikanda, Roschon Johnson, and Zay Flowers to round it all out. So I like that. Nice diverse matchups there.
Yeah. And the 32 is going to be fun.
It's gonna be hard decisions.
Tune in next week. Round of 32. Let's go.
Let's do it. I'm excited. Getting into the nitty gritty now. Peace.